most of you guys know his music. First album to go gold, first album go platinum, the first hip hop group on the cover of Rolling Stone, Mr. Darryl D.M.C. McDaniels.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
So, you liking Supercon so far?
I'm loving it here. This is incredible. People have been telling me about it, so I finally made it. And it is the place to be.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, what brought you to Supercon this year? Yeah.
I actually have a graphic novel comic book out that I started 3 years ago. And everybody always asks me that now that the book is out. I've done about 15 or 16 Comic-Cons so far. And the crazy thing is, this whole idea started with I was at a music meeting. I went for a music meeting, and I was meeting with a young man named Riggs Morales, who was Eminem's A&R over at Shady Records during the rise of that great empire. And Eminem's a big comic geek nerd like us, y'all, so let's give it up for Eminem. He's one of us. And I went to this meeting, and I sat down, and Riggs was like, yo, I'm usually very professional. I never fan out. I'm usually composed. And he used these words, but he was like, yo, D, but you was like my superhero, man. The way you sounded, the way you dressed and all of that. And he just asked me, what was it like when I was a kid? And I was like, well, I went to Catholic school my whole life, and all I did was collect, read, and draw comic books. And when I said comic books, he said, comic books? And I was like, yeah, comic books. He said, comic books? I was like, yeah, comic books. We sat there for 3 hours. We ain't talk about music. We talked about comic books. And I was a big collector of Marvel comic books. DC was cool. Now, Batman, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, those were my favorite books to read and favorite DC characters to draw. But Stan Lee was brilliant because he had the superheroes running around New York City. So when I opened up a Marvel comic book, I not only got entertained and educated, but I got a geography lesson about the world that I lived in, the city that I lived in. But I was still a kid. I couldn't even leave the block. So every time I opened up Marvel Comics, I would learn about the Lower East Side and Hell's Kitchen and 42nd Street and Park Avenue and the Empire State Building and the Twin Towers and the Roosevelt Island Tram and all of that. And I told Riggs that, and he said, yo, you should do a comic book. And I said, no. And he said, why wouldn't you want to do one? And I said, because I don't want to be another rapper thinking just because I have a hit record, I can do everything. Because rappers and hip-hop have a habit of ruining things. You know what I'm saying? They don't stay sincere to the purpose of the creativity. Because everything and anything that is culturally relevant to us, once it's commercialized, it will be diluted and polluted. So I didn't want to be the guy that y'all blame for effing up comic book culture. And Rick said, yo, that's very honorable of you. But he said, Darryl, you can do with this book, with the book, everything and more that you've been doing with your music for the past 35 years. Inspire, educate, and motivate people. So I said, wow, I didn't think about it like that. So he said, if you had a chance to name your company, because you're going to do this yourself, he said, you're not going to take it to Marvel, you're not going to take it to DC. You're going to be what Marvel and DC are. And I was like, wow, that's a big thing to live up to. And he said, if you had to name it, what would you name it? You can't use Marvel. You can't use DC. That's taken. You can't use Image. You know, I couldn't copycat. I couldn't steal, and I couldn't be a biter. And the whole DMC thing came into play. Because the initials of my name is DMC, Darryl McDaniels. Yeah. But when I'm on the microphone, DMC is not Darryl McDaniels. It's the devastating mic controlling DMC. Or D's for doing it all of the time. M's for the rhymes, that all are mine. C's for cool as can be. And I wear these glasses so I can see. Or I wear these contacts so I can see. So I was sitting there, because I got contacts on, but the C still works because of contacts. So I said, Darryl McDaniels. I said, if I was going to do a comic book, I'm going to call it DMC, Darryl Makes Comics, because that's what I'm doing. So 3 years ago, that's how it came about. And me and my editors, we said, we're going to do this in a responsible, respectful way. We want our books for the next 300 years to be a tribute and a celebration of what makes all comic books incredible. No matter what generation, no matter what time period, no matter what demographic, no matter what it is, there's a reason why pop culture things, from comic books to movies to cartoons to TV shows to kung fu movies, there's a reason why we're connected to those things. A lot of people think that whether it's the Flintstones or Bugs Bunny or Batman or Superman or the Powerpuff Girls or Star Wars or Star Trek or Lost in Space or Space 1999 or Mickey Mouse or whatever you have, a lot of people think those things were created and then we gravitated to those things. No, it's vice versa. We are those spirits. We are those thoughts. We are those creative ideas. We are those personalities. We are those characters. Those things came into existence because we exist. And my whole persona, my whole presence, my whole essence was built because when I was a little kid, all I did was read, draw, and collect comic books. And in this universe, by me reading every day, made me a good student. So the teachers didn't see that. I come from a generation, late 60s, early 70s, where the educators were pulling their heads out. Don't let the kids read comic books. The kids need to read their textbooks and their workbooks, which is true. But they overlooked the fact that I was reading every day. It made me a good student. And comic books also did something to set me up for existence in this world. I went to Catholic school my whole life. So I got bullied, I got teased, I got picked on. And Marvel comic books taught me something that set me up to be so dominant in hip hop. When I was looking at a Marvel comic book, it taught me, define yourself with an adjective. Kids in here, y'all know what an adjective is, right? We learn about that in school. It's a word that describes something. So Marvel comic books taught me, define yourself with an adjective, then tell the world who you are. For instance, if I say the amazing, y'all will say, if I say the incredible, y'all will say, if I say the invincible, y'all will say, and if I say the mighty, y'all will say, Thor. So that was my mentality. So when this thing or hip hop comes from the Bronx over the bridge, and then you got to get on the mic and prevent yourself. Now, in this world here, out of that created, imaginary, make-believe world that I was living in, Darryl McDaniels, D.M.C., he's not Darryl McDaniels no more. When I step to the microphone, I'm transformed into the devastating mic controlling D.M.C. or the microphone master D.M.C. When I was writing The King of Rock, everything, all my inspiration, all my existence was coming because of comic books. When people say make believe and pretend, or you in that corny make believe stuff, I tell kids, you might get in trouble for doing this. I tell middle school kids this. But if anybody ever teaches you, you're in that corny make believe pretend stuff. I say in the middle of class, you stand up on your desk and you beat your chest like King Kong, and you said, yes, I am into that make believe stuff. Because think about those words, make believe. Make believe, that's make believe. Make them believe it. Make them believe it. Because it's real. Whoever you love, whoever you are, whatever movie, whatever show, that is you. And it's up to us to make the world believe that. Hip-hop gave me that opportunity to actually demonstrate that in this universe. Because when I sat down with Riggs, what did he say? DMC was like my superhero. All the rappers before me, Grandmaster Flash, the Zulu Nation, the Treacherous Three, Funky 4+1, the Almighty Cold Crush Brothers, they were like my superheroes. The breakdancers were like superheroes to me. The breakdancers looked like superheroes, the way they dressed with the colors and stuff like that. It was like the damn comic books and Kemp jumped off the pages and came to life. So when it came time for me to get on a microphone, I modeled myself after all of that creativity and storytelling and imagination that was coming out the comic books. The King of Rock, There is none higher. Sucker MC should call me sire. That's me just explaining to y'all who this character is. And if you listen to King of Rock, if you go, people are now going back because the book is out, and all the Easter eggs was always there for y'all. Crash through walls, come through floors, bust through ceilings and knock down doors. Rappers don't do that, superheroes do that. But I spoke that, and I actually started doing that with my career. When I came up with the whole King of Rock and the Son of Bifrost thing, I was sitting there one day and I said, okay, Thor is the son of Odin from Asgard. He has a brother named Loki, and he has a hammer. I'm Darryl. My father's name is Bifrost. I got a brother named Alfred, and I got a microphone. So I became son of Bifrost, brother of Al. Banner's my mother and runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree. My mother, my father, my brother, and me. So hip-hop gave me a platform, an outlet to release all this creativity that this so-called normal world perceived as corny, geeky, nerdy, make-believe stuff, but I just manifested in this world to show that it really exists. All of this exists because of us. We are Luke Skywalker, we are the Hulk, we are Bruce Banner, we are Wonder Woman, we are the Powerpuff Girls. So when Riggs told me that, he said, you was doing that with your music, but the beautiful thing about a comic book is it's a multi-sensory experience. It's visual. You could hold it in your hand. And once you start using this, it becomes a world that exists. My teachers didn't understand me being a straight A student, always on the honor roll, because I was reading every day. I was utilizing and working my gift, and working my skill, and working my talent, and working this process. So when I'm sitting in history, for instance, it was a breeze for me to learn about World War II. Because I was like, teacher, you don't understand. Last night I was with Captain America fighting the Red Skull and Nazis. Young man, go to the principal's office. They didn't understand. It wasn't make-believe to me, because when you start reading something, those emotions and those feelings and those senses, go read something that I guarantee you that makes you scared, you be scared, and you start sweating, or you lose your breath. My science teacher thought I was crazy. Last night, I was flying around the rings of Saturn. Mr. McDaniels, what are you talking about? Me and the Silver Surfer. Can't tell me I wasn't. So I was able to take all of that and put it on a record. So Riggs convinced me, yo, you could do this comic book, and we can do this to show that there's nothing to be ashamed of. To show that, as a matter of fact, y'all didn't know that geeks and nerds rule the world. We create all the stories. We create all the science fiction. We create all the superheroes and the clothes and the fairy tales and the fairies and the myths and all of that. And on top of that, we create all the tech that goes with it. So what are we hiding and being ashamed about? The gangsters ain't got nothing on us geeks and nerds. So I was able to start this because I was set up to do it, because it's not like I was successful in music and now I'm doing comic book as a business. No, this is not a business to me. It's my passion. It's who I am.
Oh, that was a good answer.
But I wanted to explain it, so you can understand.
All right, I see we got some questions here. I want to make sure we get all your questions, so just go ahead.
How you doing? My name is Kennedy. You actually signed my Adidas earlier today.
Yes.
Again, it was an amazing experience. It seems like hip hop and comics has always been kind of parallel to each other.
Yes.
And a lot of us have been big fans of both.
Yep.
Now, I think comic books have become so much bigger because they've been put on a bigger platform.
Yes.
And now with the release of Straight Outta Compton, Hip Hop Evolution, The Get Down, the Defined Ones on HBO, it seems like different eras of hip hop are coming back to a bigger platform.
Right, because hip hop didn't just create rappers. Mm-hmm. If the world didn't know that, no, it's not just about rappers. There's so much other stuff, writers and designers and dance and graffiti artists and storytelling and poetry and spoken word.
Yeah.
You could be hip hop. You don't even got to say nothing. You could just walk in the room the way you dressed and say a lot. So it's all about communication.
So do you feel like now that we have this kind of bigger platform, that the culture of hip hop will kind of be rebirthed as comics have been in recent days? or are we kind of seeing sometimes like the last days of hip hop?
Well, it's not the last day of hip hop because for the last 20 years, hip hop has been dealing with that. Even with Run-D.M.C, when we was at the top of the world, we had Walk This Way, My Adidas, and we selling out venues, people were still asking us, is hip hop a fad? Yeah. Where do you think you'll be in 5 years? What's happening now is, I don't believe in conspiracy theories because it's not a conspiracy theory if you're looking at a situation and it's happening right before your eyes. What's happening now is, I don't know, somebody somewhere knows the power of communication, the power of the arts. I made a saying, the arts succeeds where politics and religion fails. Look at this room. Look at all the diversity in this room. Go to a concert. Somewhere along the line, they are noticing the power of hip-hop, rock and roll, and music in general. Hip-hop was a beautiful thing when you could say hip-hop and you could think about Run-D.M.C. and LL Cool J and De La Soul and Digital Underground and Tribe Called Quest. Nothing negative. Right now, hip-hop is getting a negative representation. But the problem with the negative representation is it's bigger than the music and the art. In America, we use negativity and disrespect as a false sense of power. Why do you think all the records are negative? We kill each other, get high, have sex, disrespect women, don't go to school. When we came along, it was powerful because here were young individuals that didn't have opportunities, that didn't have all the social blessings that everybody else had. We had to look inside of ourselves creatively. So that being said, if the music business ends tomorrow, we still gonna be all right because hip hop was here before it was ever on a record. And going back to talk about the movies, it's great what Hollywood is doing with these movies on the big screen. Yeah. But us geeks and nerds, we sit back and we watching Hollywood. Because the minute they get it wrong, we gonna put a foot in their behinds and say something about it. They better get it right. But what I'm saying is this, just like if the music business ends tomorrow, there's still gonna be hip hop. As a matter of fact, if the music business does end tomorrow, that would be better for hip hop because then there wouldn't be no boundaries and expectations to live up to. You know, when you look at hip hop right now, it's just boring and monotonous because there's no innovation and no positive, creative, universal content. All the records sound the same. All the rappers sound the same. All the mumble rappers, they saying what they saying. The problem why it's mumble rappers, everybody saying the same thing. It ain't like, yo, as good as Run-D.M.C is, you gotta listen to this LL Cool J guy. You don't have that no more. We just got who's hot right now, and then next week's gonna be a new hot guy there. But when you're looking at the movies on a big screen, it's great. It is great for our culture, and it's great because it's bringing us respect. But think about this, if the movies come off the screen right now, I don't care about the movies because since 1969, I had the book. So I didn't need Hollywood to do what it's doing for people who never read a comic book or watched the shows or came to see and live the life, the pop culture life that we live. Because I go right back to the book. I was already there. Now the world is catching up with us. See, the world is catching up with us right now. But now, like I said, they're catching up with us, but we miles ahead of them. So with hip hop, it's like this. It's okay to have a group like Migos. But the problem with Migos is, it's okay for them to do their party record. The problem with it is, this is what the world is scared of. A group that looks like Migos that's talking like KRS-One. Or a group that looks like Migos that's talking like Rakim. A guy that looks like Lil Wayne talking like Rakim. Because think about what Rakim said. He said, I used to roll up. This is a hole up. I don't do that no more. Now I learned to earn because I'm righteous. So all the hole up kids was like, Rakim said we don't got to do this no more. So we always had an elevation someplace else to go. So everything pop culturally and artistically and creative, it's going to get popular and it's going to get commercialized, and some individuals is going to come and profit off it. But it's up to us to know that when they make their last dollar out of it, we're going to get rid of them and we're going to proceed and keep moving on. So it's all about growth. And hip-hop has a way of doing it. You know, hip-hop started with the message, and it went into gangster rap, and gangster rap became profitable. So now it's really hard for somebody with parents that can't understand. There's probably a kid right now that has the next parents can't understand, but the music business executive is going to say, that's very fine and it's creative and innovative, but could you be a little more like Ice Cube? You know what I'm saying? So we need to know that the power is in the creative presentation of what we do. I never was in a gang. I never went to jail. I don't want to go to jail because I like my freedom. I don't want no guns around me because I don't want to get shot because it hurts. But I told y'all the truth. When I stepped to the mic with the same ego and swag and authority, the same way people rap and brag about selling drugs and killing each other, I stepped to the mic and said, I'm DMC, and the place to be, I go to St. John's University. And since Kenny, I didn't even say kindergarten, and since kindergarten I acquired the knowledge, after 12th grade I went straight to college. The whole world was like, what? This guy goes to college and he's rap? That's powerful. So we must continue our creativity, all you young people out there, all you women out there, all you people from Cuba and from Italy and all of that. Don't jump on the bandwagon, bring a new wagon into town. And that's what hip hop used to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, how you doing?
What up, what up?
So you actually just kind of answered my question right there.
Yep.
But yeah, so I guess I have no question.
No, give me.
But thank you for everything. You know, Run-D.M.C was legendary, and you've inspired so much and helped bring hip hop into the mainstream, which some people, but it helps somebody, especially like me, who wouldn't normally have access to something like that,
Right.
to basically become obsessed with it and be able to listen to it, make it a part of my life. And, you know, Run-D.M.C. especially was extremely influential in that.
Well, thank you.
And I'm kind of rambling right now.
Well, no, I know what you're saying, but what it was is when Run-D.M.C. came along, y'all didn't see celebrity. Y'all saw yourselves. So whether you was a dirt poor kid in the ghetto or you was this kid in Hollywood or in Beverly Hills, when you saw Run-D.M.C. and you heard about the things that we rapped about, you was like, there's a guy in my classes, you look just like that guy Darryl with the glasses. Or that guy Jason, because everybody knows a guy like Jason, whether you're white, black, Puerto Rican, or whatever. And everybody got a friend that has an ego and won't shut up like Run. So when you saw Run-D.M.C., you know what I'm saying, it wasn't like, you know, when we came along, we didn't have costumes on. You know, we wasn't dressing like George Clinton and the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Even if he was a white kid, you knew kids, oh, I know my friend's a breakdancer. Or I know a kid, I was in St. John's for 2 semesters, so those kids knew a kid that looked like Darryl. But it was deeper than that. It was the things that we talked about. When we came along, when Run-D.M.C. first came along, hip-hop itself was considered black ghetto music. And the reason why that was because every record was a message record. When Melly Mel came and did Don't Push Me, 'cause I'm close to the edge, I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder. Melly Mel, these young b-boys and breakdancers and graffiti artists and DJs, we wasn't just speaking about what we were going through as young people, because our music wasn't about that. When Melly Mel and them spoke about the message, they was actually saying what our mothers and fathers was going through. Hard-working people trying to struggle, trying to survive, you know what I'm saying? It's hard out there. And this hip-hop music didn't just speak for young people, it spoke for everybody in those situations. But then, once again, corporate America, whoa, that message record is powerful. If you look back at that time, every record was a message record. Message 1, message 2, life in the ghetto, growing up in the ghetto, my uncle in the ghetto, everything was a ghetto record. Then Planet Rock came along, Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. They did something that was evolutionary, revolutionary, and gave growth to the culture and expression. They did a record called Planet Rock that talked about here we are in the message situation, but we have a vision of where this can go. And if you listen to Planet Rock, that record was made in 1983, 84. To this day, is better than 99% of all the rap records on the radio. Those dudes, 17, Glow, Powwow, Mr. Big was 16, 17, and 19 or 21. And they said the soul sonic force, Mr. Biggs, Powwow and MC Globe, we emphasize to show we got ego, make this your night, rock it by day, as the people say, live it up, shucks, no work, all play, our world is free, be what you want, just be. Hip-hop is telling us, be what you want, just be something. So if you couldn't MC, you good. If you couldn't DJ, you good. If you couldn't do graffiti, you good. You couldn't breakdance, you good. What could you do? I want to be a designer. I want to make movies. I want to be a cameraman. I want to be a playwright. You know, so many artistic, creative talents came about because of what hip-hop was telling the people. So when Run-D.M.C came along, when Run put me in a group, he had this record called Street Kid, which was talking about what's going on in the street. But I wasn't in the street. I went to Catholic school. I had to be in the house when the street lights came on. My mother was like, when that street light come on, you have your ass in this house. And she showed me a slipper and a belt. And I was like, every night I was in there. So if I'm in the house all the time, I gotta have an imagination and stay busy. So when I got on the microphone, I knew even in a dirt poor ghetto, there was some good creativity, good things going on. We all love comic books. And to answer your question, comic books and hip-hop is synonymous. And the reason why it's synonymous is, the perfect example is when Wu-Tang came along, they was modeling everything off the Kung Fu movies, right? And whether or not you like Wu-Tang or even hip-hop, if you was a fan of all of those great Kung Fu movies, you was checking Wu-Tang out. Because now you got something you could relate to. So the rich kids in Beverly Hills could relate to what we were saying. The poor kids could relate to what we're saying, and what that did was it got us all in the same room. So something's going on with if we really want to change mothers, fathers, teachers, sisters, and brothers with the kids, we need to start protesting in front of these radio stations. Because their line is false advertisement. 99X, the station that loves hip-hop. But they ain't playing nothing positive. You don't hear one record with a young man saying, it's cool, I go to school. Or you don't hear no record saying, I used to be in a gang, I ain't in a gang no more. Or you don't hear no records about have safe sex. Or you don't hear no records, yeah, I'm the toughest dude in the neighborhood and I don't carry guns. They're not playing that. So what we gotta do is, we gotta get out in front, grandmothers, people from the old school generation, the young people that want something different. You know, they see us here, here's a little Kendrick Lamar, here's a little Chance the Rapper. But what is the dominant thing on the radio? So hip-hop gave us the voice, gave Wu-Tang the voice to make us all cash. And it's true, cash rules everything around me, cream, get the money, dollar, whether you young, old, Puerto Rican, Protestant, Republican, Democrat, you know that money rules the world. So by us having these pop culture connections, look, my comic book came about because I had a music meeting with an executive that if I never would have said that, I would have never known he had comic books. If we are not ashamed to stand up, and I don't care if it's a dude, if you are not ashamed to put on a Powerpuff Girl outfit and walk down your hood block and say, I like the Powerpuff Girls, what? Everybody gonna back up. Think about it. But when we sit back and hide, acting like we gotta conform to somebody else's rules, no, we make the rules. Everything creative comes from here. So hip hop gave us that opportunity. When Wu-Tang said Kung Fu movies, when I was growing up, here's who I'm made of. Marvel comic books, Bruce Lee, I Dream of Jeannie, and all the dudes know why you watched I Dream of Jeannie, but it was actually good. The Munsters, the Addams Family. Every day after school, I knew 3:30. By the time I got home and did my homework, I'm turning on the TV, sitting there eating my dinner, the Brady Bunch, Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny. So we are all products of those things. You know what I'm saying? So hip-hop, creativity, the arts gives us the ability to express those, create new things like that, which will bring us together to show the force that we have and the power that we have to create communities of perfection, When I was reading Marvel comic books, I was a little Catholic school kid that bullied and picked on and teased. But when I was reading comic books, my world was perfect. And it made me feel indestructible. It made me feel all right. And it gave me an attitude and it gave me a hope. And that's all that hip hop did. The arts succeeds where politics and religion fails. When Run-D.M.C. did Walk This Way with Aerosmith, Steven Tyler takes a mic stand and knocks a hole in the wall. Jewish people, Muslim people, Asian people, rockheads, metalheads, rockbox. They said, man, when y'all did that, y'all didn't knock down a wall in the video, y'all knocked down a wall in the world. So once we understand that, once we are not ashamed of, I love Fred Flintstone. The funny joke is, when Riggs told me you should do the comic book, after our meeting, he says, DMC, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take you to the New York City Comic Con. So he took me to New York City Comic Con that year to show me this is what we're gonna do. And when I walked into the doors of the New York City Comic Con 3 years ago, not only I saw all the comic books that me and my brother had collected, not only I saw all the Star Wars and Darth Vader and all of that stuff, and Fred Flintstone and the Thunderbirds and Gigantor and all of this stuff, I saw all of this new stuff. And it got me excited about, man, if we did that 30 years ago, and then that came along 20 years ago, and this just happened 10 years ago, and this is what's happening now, it gave me a hope and a vision, man, in another 10 years? So we wanted to create something that was going to inspire all of you, especially the younger generation, not to come along and try to, like I said, don't get on the bandwagon, bring a new bandwagon in. The reason why my old school era of hip hop was so successful was there was no copycat and there was no biting and no duplicating. You can rap, but how are you going to do it? Run-D.M.C, we got the rock thing on lock. P.E. came with the messages. KRS-One came his education thing. LL Cool J stepped to the microphone in the midst of me and Run, we're the kings, and Public Enemy, yes, get back, we're black and powerful. And KRS-One, educate yourself and teach you. LL Cool J figured it out. Okay, they doing that, how do I get in? He took his shirt off and walked to the front of the stage and said, when I'm alone in the room staring at the wall, and the whole world was like, yo. And somebody had asked me a couple of weeks ago, like all of these young kids here and all of you people, and you're never too old to do it. We created my comic book together. I'm 53. So I wanted to give all writers, artists, inkers, pencilers, graffiti artists and pencilers and inkers and colorists a chance from 53 to 8. And also there's people 53 to 70 who never got to draw for Marvel and DC. Before they die, I want to give them that opportunity. So you're never too old, but I want to encourage people. They asked me about the diversity thing with, the hip-hop variant covers. I think it was the dopest thing in the world. Now, diversity is good with any entity, but it's a problem when you do something diverse and then you advertise it. Because then it's like, people, what are you trying to do? You're just doing that to get the black people. Like, I would prefer not to have a black Captain America or a female Thor. I would prefer to have a new female Thunder God that comes along and kicks Thor's ass, that makes Thor ask him, where do you come from? And she can say, I'm not from Asgard, I can do that. I want people to see the opportunities of how we grow instead of just everybody getting in on the same level. Hip hop used to do this. It started with The Message, then Planet Rock, then Curtis Blow, then Run-D.M.C, then LL Cool J, then Public Enemy, then Eric B. and Rakim. It used to do that. Now it just does this. You got this guy, and that guy, and this guy, and the Dirty South, and this is doing this, but there's no growth. So we gotta have the courage not to be ashamed. Will Smith came along and did a record called Parents Can't Understand and shut every rapper up. Whoa, that's killer. So you gotta go home and find out, and that's what Run-D.M.C did. We didn't just represent us, we represented all of you.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Darryl, it's an honor to meet you. In 1983, I came home with the Sucker MC single on a recommendation from the record store owner.
Wow.
My life was never the same. You guys, from the debut to King of Rock to Raising Hell, you didn't let up. You guys just dominated. But here's it's kind of like what you're saying with the whole comic book thing.
Yeah.
In those days, there wasn't social media. So it was like we would read magazines, when we're not getting thrown out.
You had to go find it and work. You had to do work to get it.
Exactly. Or go to somebody's house that had it or something like that. When we finally saw what you guys looked like, I'm a rocker.
Right.
My buddy back here. It was like Kiss. You guys had the image and
the
makeup, but it was like, man, these guys are intense.
Exactly.
It was just amazing, man.
Right.
You guys were. It's funny now that you're doing the whole comic book thing now, and look, it ties in like.
Yeah, when you look at it, when you look at the breakdancer, you look at the MCs, the colors. Hip hop was just a comic book that influenced us coming off the comic book page. Look at graffiti. If you look at a comic book and look at some graffiti, it looks the same thing. When you look at the red Adidas suit with the red Kangol and the blue and the green and the yellow and stuff like that, it was colorful like this because that was ingrained in us. So when it was time for us to represent, we represented that. But the reason why our relationship with rock and roll and comic books and kung fu movies, it was all going on at the same time, but nobody had the courage to represent it like that. When we was coming up, we sampled all rock songs. When Run-D.M.C did Rock Box, for instance, it's a tongue twister. Walk This Way isn't the first rock rap record. The first rock rap record is Rock Box, which was the first rap video on MTV. That was '84. Then we did a song called The King of Rock, which had Larry Bud Melman from the David Letterman show denying Run-D.M.C entry into a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame museum that didn't even exist. Wow. When we got inducted in '09, and this is the power of creativity, we had no idea. When we got inducted in '09, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, DMC, come here, I gotta tell you something. What? Don't you know when y'all did King of Rock in '85, it was prophetic? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, y'all did a video getting denied entry into a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1985. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't start till '86. And in '86, we dropped Walk This Way. When we was coming up, before Rapper's Delight, which is considered, Rapper's Delight isn't the first rap song on a record. The first rap song is a song called King Tim III by the Fatback Band. It was a guy in the middle of an R&B record, he did a rap. That's the first rap record. But when we was coming up, in a DJ's crate was always a James Brown record, because James Brown always had a funky drummer beat for us to run our mouths over. It was always a disco record or a funk record. But in those same crates was rock records. Billy Squire's Big Beat. Walk This Way. Me and Run didn't even know Walk This Way was called Walk This Way. We just knew it was an album named Toys in the Attic, and we would tell Jay, get Toys in the Attic out and play number 4. So remember I said we stole and we borrowed and we sampled. When we was making the Raising Hell album, we was going to make a record using Walk This Way's music. We was going to sample Walk This Way. Back to the beat. And the rhymes was going to be, we came out in '83, so it's '86 now. So the original Walk This Way was going to be, I'm DMC in the place to be. I've been rapping on the mic since '83. I'm the best MC in history. There will never be an MC better than me. That's why they call me the K-I-N-G. And then Run was supposed to go, I'm DJ Run and I'm number 1. Here to get it done and have some fun. It was Rick Rubin who worked with Johnny Cash and Metallica and Tom Petty. Rick Rubin, who was our producer at the time, he comes in, he says, you know what would be great? That's how he talks. It would be great if y'all did the record over. So we was thinking from a limited hip-hop perspective. We said, what do you think we're gonna do? We're gonna sample this and we're gonna rhyme on it. Rick said, no. Do the record over the way the band originally did it. So Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, Jay was like, yo, that might be a great idea. Me and Run was totally against it. Totally against it. Rick took the record off the record player. Little kids don't know nothing about this. We had no iPhones, no iPad, no internet. He took the record off, said, go in the basement, take out the yellow note paper, and write the lyrics down. We went in the basement, we put the needle on the record, it said, now remember, me and Run had never heard the singing, because the DJs would never let it play that far. It said, me and Run sitting there with the pen and paper, and then you hear Steve, backstroke level on underneath the cover. This is me on Run on the phone. When it did that, oh hell no, nope, this is hillbilly gibberish, this is country punk rock music, you trying to ruin us, isn't it? We're not doing it. It took us a whole week to go back and record it. But Jay did this to us. Remember I said, all of us in here are similar. I don't care how old you are, there's not a generation gap between me and the young people. There's not a generation gap between a 53-year-old man and an 8-year-old kid who loves the same things. It's a communication gap. It's an information gap. So we sat there and we did the Walk This Way out, but like I said, we sampled, but there was a time when you had an album cover. Like you said, you used to have to read. We started reading what John Lennon did and Bob Dylan did and John Fogerty did and what they did when they wasn't up on stage. So all of those things came to play. And then we took it another step further. Like my comic book, I can draw. I haven't drawn in I still doodle, but I haven't drawn. My comic book, when we come, me and my editorial team, we come up with all the ideas and scenarios. But then we go get writers and artists, known and unknown, and most of the writers, we always have an artist that has worked with Marvel or who has worked with DC so we could be legit to y'all. Like I want you to open my book and say, oh wow, that's who drew that? So you'll know name, but we also give opportunity to up and coming people. But Rick took it a step further. Not only are we going to do their record over, we're going to go do it with them. Now, we could have had that same record with me and Run doing it the way we did it without Steven on it. But because the original dudes was present, because it was them and us, a new generation utilizing and taking their thing to the next level, it had an impact that changed the world. If me and Run would have just did it ourselves, it was, yo, remember that record in 86 that Run and them did Walk This Way over? It would have been known, but it wouldn't have did nothing. So creatively and artistically, I just want to encourage Marvel and DC and Image and all of that to start giving a chance to the new kid that nobody never heard of with his idea. There's a new Star Wars out there. There's a new Hulk out there. There's a new Superman out there. You know what I'm saying? We don't need another Superman. We need another guy from Superman's world that's just as dope as he is. And that's what hip-hop was always about. We crashed through walls, came through floors, bust through ceilings, and knocked down doors, and we didn't close them behind us. We could have closed them and kept all the money. But we knew there was a Beastie Boy out there. We knew there was an EPMD out there. And I want to do the same thing I did musically. I want to do with all you artists, writers, inkers, pencilers. I mean, I'm a big horror movie fan. I think the dopest horror movie ever was the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You ever see that one? And it's not even bloody and gory like these movies now. They over the top. It was just scary because it was real. So I want to give that guy a chance.
You remember the show at the Miami Baseball Stadium?
Yes, I do.
With the Beasties opening.
I can never forget that.
And Steve Tyler and Joe Perry
came out with us. Yep.
Hey, thanks for everything.
You got it.
Are we good on time? I don't really have a question.
All right, just take these last
good to go?
Last three real quick.
All right. I don't really have a question, just got a statement here, man. I think everything that you said so far is just amazing. I think that you need to come back. I think you need to keep coming back.
I will. Thank you.
Because as someone that grew up loving comic books,
yes,
even from when you were a little kid, just like you highlighted, that as a little kid you get ostracized, you get picked on for liking that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And seeing someone that's brave enough to say, no, screw that, I'm going to break the mold. I'm going to go out and do my own thing. Not only is it a positive message, but it's helping push the culture forward further.
For sure, yeah.
And we've been here since the beginning.
All right, that's what I'm saying.
Comic books have been here since the beginning.
That's why we got to shut them down. Shut up, we've been here.
Even when no one could read in the Catholic Church.
Yep.
All those stained glass windows, what were they? The first comic book.
The first comic book, exactly. It's the art.
Absolutely. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Coming back. That's all
I will be back.
Appreciate
Thank you. Because think about this, y'all. An evil dictator or evil ruler, real quick, the first thing before they bring the army in to kick out butts is, the first thing, guys that want to take over worlds and nations and rule people and suppress people, Y'all don't realize in history, the first thing they do when they come into sound is go to the museum. Why do you think ISIS is destroying all the museums and the relics? Destroy the museums, capture the playwrights, the book writers, go kill the artists, take all the art off the wall. Once they do that, they destroy our art and our creativity. Then they come and beat us up physically. So we have to take a stand together and collectively. You know, us dudes in here, we all got to go out tomorrow and put on some Powerpuff Girl dresses. And then they go, uh-oh, something going on. Don't mess with them. All right, real quick.
So I wanted to ask a question regarding what you think right now is the most influential rapper in the industry. I personally think it's Run the Jewels with their political message.
Run the Jewels is amazing.
And I wanted to get your opinion on who you think is that person.
Right now, currently, I'm looking at Chance the Rapper. Because not only through the music he's making, I like what Chance talks about when the mic is off. He's fighting for schools and he's fighting for education. You don't see, and that's a bad thing, you don't see some of the most powerful athletes and the influential musicians and actors doing what Chance is doing. And he's doing it all with all the microphones off. You know what I'm saying? That's a powerful thing that he's doing. I gotta give it to Chance because he's really doing it. He's not being afraid. And he's doing it by himself. He's not going around, and the funny thing, he knows I'm not going to call up all these other guys because he's going to get turned down. The management is going to be, how much money do we get, this and that. They got to have first class in this. Chance is waking up and he's going to do it. So I got to give it to Chance. But on a message thing, you got to give it to Run the Jewels, and you got to give it to what Prophets of Rage is doing right now, too. You know what I'm saying? Even though Zach ain't dead, Tom Morello, Chuck D, a Public Enemy, and Be Real from Cypress Hill, doing Rage records and some new stuff. With the messages, like, I don't like when people say it's not Zach. It's not Zach. Like, you say, no, it's not Zach, they should go get, no, it's a different group. So, but to answer for the rap thing, give it the chance to Rapper, man, because he's taking a chance.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Last question.
Mine's not so much of a question.
Yes.
The question at the end is real small.
Yeah.
I grew up Brooklyn, East New York in the 70s. I remember when you came out. That 112 went from 12th grade straight to college. That in my neighborhood, me and my friends who we went to college.
Right.
I'm now a professor of radiology.
Right on.
That was big for us.
Right. For me saying it, like what?
So that blew my head back then. And you just blew my head now. I was an artist growing up as a kid, and I worked in the mailroom at Marvel.
Wow.
I met all these artists, and I had opportunities to ink for a comic book known as Eternity Comics, but down the tubes.
Right.
And I had those opportunities, and now I hear about your thing, so I'm gonna look into that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the thing is that I was talking to my son the other day. We were driving in the car,
right?
And I was talking about my Adidas. I was playing Run-D.M.C. in my car.
Right. And my Adidas came on.
He was like, "What is this? What is this?" Because he doesn't hear the
right.
And I'm like, no, this is rap. This is it. This was hip hop. This is what I grew up with. I said, this guy's talking about how he travels in his Adidas, and nothing's stopping him, and he's moving up, and he's progressing in life.
Right.
That's what this is about.
Right.
It's not about shooting somebody.
Right.
And to meet you here with your Adidas is like, so could you just give him a quick shout out?
Yeah. What's your son name?
He's William III.
All right. Yo, what up, DMC in the place to be? Yo, what's up, William III? Word up, my Adidas. No curls, no braids, peasy head and still get paid. I am the reason why Yeezys can be made. Woo!
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. But I'm going to look into drawing and see if I can get into your comic thing.
Yeah, definitely. Give me some of your, if you got a portfolio and information and stuff like that. The secret about the laces is to wear one size smaller. But after doing that for 3 years, I figured out, damn, why my feet is always hurting. I was wearing 11 when I should have wore 12. That's the secret.
Okay.
This time we're going to be doing a crowd selfie where you're going to be taking.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. First of all, let's thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys.
Bro.
Have a great.
Preach on, brother. Preach on.